Even if you know the test material backwards and forwards, a key component of passing an exam is knowing what you'll be tested on and how you'll be marked. How is your driving exam scored, and what maneuvers, moves, or errors do examiners look for? In this video, we're going to introduce the marking system. A driving exam is scored by point deduction. The more points you get, the more points are deducted from the perfect score. In other words, scoring 0 is the best score you can get. Whenever you make a driving or parking error or traffic violation, you accrue points. Every jurisdiction has their own point system, meaning the number of maximum points will be different across jurisdictions. For example, some might have a maximum of 30 points, while others might have a maximum of 60. Also, the number of points you accrue for each specific error will be different, including which errors are considered critical errors and how many attempts are allowed for certain maneuvers, like parking skills, will differ across jurisdictions. A few examples of the kinds of errors that can accrue you points on your driving exam include: if you stop over the stop line at an intersection, you might get penalized 2 or 5 points, or 6 or 9, depending on your jurisdiction. Or if you drive with your parking brake on, it might be considered a critical error in one jurisdiction and a minor error in another. The examiner's thinking behind marking driver violations and errors is always the same. Here are the three main of marking. First, minor driver errors. Second, repeated minor driver errors. And third, major critical driver errors. Let's go ahead and break these down. Minor driver errors are not considered serious errors. They are each assigned a certain number of points. Repeated minor driver errors are the same type of errors, but committed repeatedly. This tells the examiner that you have developed an unsafe driving habit. How many times you'll be permitted to make this error will vary across jurisdictions. Major critical errors are errors considered to be more dangerous. Any one of these errors can constitute an automatic fail on the exam. Some of the previously mentioned repeated minor driver errors can become major critical errors when you exceed the number of permitted times for that error to occur.
Marking the test sheet. In the drive test, your examiner will penalize you if you made a driving error. Each violation or mistake has a certain number of points. Not all mistakes have a similar number of points. The more mistakes you make, the more you're getting penalized, and the more points you earn. This is something you want to avoid. The marking and point allocation details will depend on your area, state, or province you live in. Some errors, however, are considered as an automatic fail. That means if you made just one of them, that would be a fail, regardless of how well you drove or how few mistakes you made. Note: you can pass the test even if you made a few minor mistakes. All you need to do is perform well and understand the scoring guideline. There are gray areas in the driving test. Sometimes you may conclude that you have made a mistake and have failed the test, but in reality you haven't. That's why you should not pay attention to what the examiner writes. It is only the examiner who is marking you. You are not marking yourself. Therefore, if you think you've made an error, just keep focusing ahead. Ignore that error. The examiner may not even deduct a point from you for that error. The examiner saw the mistake, but according to his or her judgment, they think that it should not be penalized. Here are the three main components of scoring. 1. Minor driver errors. 2. Repeated minor driver errors. And 3. Major or critical driver errors. Let's explore the categories. 1. Minor driver errors. These violations are considered less serious mistakes that may not cause danger to traffic or other road users. A few driving mistakes are permitted. Each mistake is designated with a certain number of points. For each mistake, a certain number of points is deducted. Not all the minor errors weigh equally. Some may carry higher points than others. You will need to score few points, make less mistakes, in order to pass. If the total earned accumulated points exceed the maximum allowed, that would be a fail. Let's now examine some of the minor error penalties. Here they are: not knowing how to use or identify an instrument, not placing hands in the proper steering position, placing hands in the inside of the steering wheel when making a turn, either under or over steer during a turn, not keeping on the correct side inside the parking lot, not using the turn signal inside the parking lot, not stopping before exiting the parking lot, not signaling when exiting the parking lot, making a wide turn, making a sharp turn, applying the brakes hard, turning slowly and not clearing the intersection quickly, not picking up speed after making a turn, not checking the inside mirror periodically, using the accelerator abruptly, using a lower gear for a long time for manual cars, not clutching smoothly for manual cars, clutching, lugging, improper use of clutch, stalled, driving and turning with one hand, not stopping behind the stop line, not observing for hazards, not signaling or shoulder checking for a lane change, not signaling or shoulder checking on unmarked roadways, not signaling or shoulder checking when pulling to the curb lane, not signaling or shoulder checking when entering the road from the curb lane, not mirror checking, not shoulder checking, late turn signal, early turn signal, too much slowing down before making a right turn, not shoulder checking before making a right turn, hesitating before proceeding through. There's a huge gap when it is safe to make a left turn. You're hesitating. Unnecessary stopping when the road is safe. Why are you stopping? Always uses the brakes when driving through intersections. Not scanning through intersections. Following too close behind a vehicle. Slowing down during a lane change. Jerky steering when making a lane change. Not maintaining proper lane position. Slowing down on the main roadway before the exit. Driving too close to parked vehicles. Driving slow, less than 10. Overspeeding, less than 10. Not observing to the rear when backing up. Pulled way too far from the car to be parallel parked. Improper steering while backing up for parking. Not straightening wheels after parking is complete. Wheels far from the curb. Not turning wheels the correct way for hill park. Not activating parking brake after completing hill park. Not releasing parking brake prior to driving out. Not signaling or shoulder checking when entering the road from a parked spot. Not observing adequately when pulling out or at and through intersection. Not anticipating well when driving through a stale green light. Not judging well approaching and driving through traffic lights. Yield sign and safe to proceed, but you're stopping. Not assuming own right-of-way. Showing too much caution. It's safe to proceed, but you're still not sure. 2. Repeated minor driver errors. These will be similar mistakes as the above, but repeated. That means you have done one error here, and then you did the same error, but somewhere else. You will be penalized each time you repeat a violation. Depending on your jurisdiction, some mistakes may be repeated a maximum of 3 times, and others may only be allowed twice. Some mistakes may be allowed many times, and you'll just be scored for the maximum, which may be 2 or 3 times. These could be late or early signaling, or not canceling indicator on time, and so forth. You can make the same minor errors more than once, or more than twice, and still pass the test. Note, if you exceeded the number of points allowed, then that is a fail. So let's say in your jurisdiction you are allowed a maximum of 30 points of minor errors to pass the test. You scored 35, that means a fail. But if you scored 30 or less, that would be a pass. With parking skill maneuvers, if you didn't do the maneuver correctly, you will get points deducted. You may be allowed to repeat the maneuver 2 or 3 times. If you did the parking within the allowed times, that will be just points deducted. However, if you were not able to perform the skill maneuver within the allotted time, that will be considered as an automatic fail. What you need to remember is that although some errors can be repeated a few times, at the end of the test, if your total accumulation did not exceed the allowed penalty points, you can still pass the test. 3. Major or critical driver errors. This will be a maneuver that would be considered a violation of the traffic law, or a major error that is dangerous or unsafe and may have affected other road users. Any one of these mistakes is considered an automatic fail, regardless of your general overall performance. Examples will be obstruction of traffic. Examples: traffic was obstructed because of your driving slowly. Traffic was obstructed because of your braking and braking at every intersection. Traffic was obstructed because of your stopping at green lights when it was safe to make a right turn or to proceed through. Traffic was obstructed because of your blocking the intersection. Traffic was obstructed because you stalled the manual transmission. Anytime traffic is adversely affected by your driving actions, the examiner intervenes to advise. An example may be that the examiner tells you to speed up. Any assistance from the examiner as a result of traffic obstruction because of safety concerns for other road users. Traffic lights violation. Examples: driving through red lights. According to the examiner, it was deemed very safe to stop for a yellow light, but you didn't. It was safe to clear the intersection on yellow, but you kept stopping inside the intersection. Then it was clearly red, and you realized and you made the turn late. You did not make a full stop on red before making a right turn. You made a right turn on red when it is not allowed by a posted prohibited sign. Right-of-way. Examples: you did not yield the right-of-way to pedestrians, either crossing or clearly going to cross in the crosswalk or intersection, either marked or unmarked. You did not yield right-of-way to another vehicle while you're driving out of a yield sign intersection. You did not yield right-of-way to another vehicle while you're driving out of a stop sign intersection. You did not yield right-of-way to opposing traffic while you're making a left turn. You did not yield right-of-way to another vehicle while you're making a right turn at a red traffic light. You did not yield right-of-way to opposing traffic that's making a right turn while you're making a left turn. Dangerous, unsafe. Examples: you turned and drove onto the wrong side of the road and there were vehicles approaching. You made a right turn that was too close to hitting another parked vehicle. You made a left turn while oncoming vehicles were approaching quickly. You made or attempted any maneuver and the examiner had to intervene to help you. You are backing up without seeing pedestrians or vehicles behind your car. Any time deemed by the examiner as unsafe and they have to intervene by advising you what to do. Lack of parking skills. Examples: you were not able to perform a parking skill maneuver in the allowed number of attempts. You climbed over the curb during a parking skill maneuver. You were struggling to either pull in or out of the stall and the examiner had to intervene. Overspeeding. Examples: when you go over the speed limit by at least 10. Remember as a hint, if the examiner advises you to reduce your speed, that is an indication you are doing at least 10 more than the speed limit. Stop sign. Examples: if you did not come to a full stop. If you drove through a stop sign. Remember as a hint, if the examiner advises of or points out a stop sign, that could mean an automatic fail. Lack of driving skills. Examples: if you are weak with the rules of the road. If you are consistently not maintaining proper lane or road position. If you consistently turn too fast or too slow. If you consistently make wide, slow turns. If you never use mirrors or shoulder check and you're struggling with steering. If deemed by the examiner that your driving needs a lot of practice. If the examiner assisted you with steering or any other driving maneuver. Climb on the curb. Examples: when making a turn, you climbed on the curb. Example could be exiting the parking lot. When performing a parking skill maneuver, you climb the curb. Other violation. Examples: any other violation that the examiner had to help you with and is considered as a major violation and not mentioned in the above list.